Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 288 of the Civil Gore podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian. And we just to warn you, the movie we're doing today is The Psychic. It was a very slow burn. And it matches our both of our energy levels
Yes.
today, because we're actually recording this on a Sunday morning. Tim, it's more afternoon, but me, it's morning, and it's after a whole day of moving our pod, finally, the stuff out of our pod into a U-Haul, then driving it over to our new storage and putting it all in there, which was, and I wonder, I was like, why? My brother and sister-in-law helped us, and thankfully, or we would have died. But like, the funny thing is, I was like, why did it seem so much more exerting this time? And I remembered because when we did this the last time, we actually had we hired a couple of those like guys from the I think one of the storage facility has like a deal with. So we had two guys like busting their ass, and I'm like, and then I realized, I'm like, oh my God, like how, I mean, and I see why they got done so fast, because there was some stuff. Thankfully, it looks like all my Blu-rays though were saved, and there was
Nice.
nothing really got damaged. And, there's a couple of things, but I think that's just, things that happen in a move, you sit there cross country, but surprisingly, like I'd say like 98% of the things were fine. Like maybe like one little like old dresser, like, which is old, like chipped off a bottom on the leg of it. It like fell off, but that, for all I know, that might have been damaged before, because it like just fell off. Like as I moved it, I just started to go clink, like fall off to the ground. So yeah, so that, luckily that's okay. And I found my tubs full of board games, the ones I don't have here, and they were all intact somehow.
Nice.
Which was, I knew Tim would be happy about that.
The important things. Who cares about the furniture?
I know, yeah, furniture can be replaced. I mean, but it's funny though, because like it's like that's like the one part of the move that like people forget is the tension. Like everyone complain, like, oh, it's the packing. Yes, that is horrendous, but it's, to me, it's that bad feeling, like you're so afraid when they finally arrive with your stuff, or you go unpack your stuff from things like did I pack it well enough? Is it okay? Is it going to be broken? Like, what do I need to do? It's like,
I can't, I was in my last house for 18 years, and I plan on being in this house as long, if not longer, because I can't stand moving. I have these people that like buy a house and then they like move like a year later, and then they move again a year later. I'm like, I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, you know why? They're obviously, they have the simplistic nature to them, where they don't keep a lot of stuff. Like you and I collect stuff, like your board game collection, my Blu-ray and
I couldn't
toys. But yeah, those, and now like if I didn't have possessions, like or collections like I do, I could see myself moving every so often to new places. It's exciting, But like the fact that like I hate to say it, I like stuff. It's like George Carlin, that stuff. And I was saying this yesterday, and I think it's an ingenious invention that scientists should work on immediately. So everyone, like thinks about like, when they saw Star Trek, like, oh, how great would that be to teleport anywhere? I think they should more focus on an app, when they can get teleportation down, an app where you basically scan items. You put a barcode on every item you own, you scan that, and you send it via teleportation to its new location. Wouldn't that be the best thing ever?
That would be the best thing
for
ever.
Moves. That would like change. I mean, of course, it would probably eliminate a lot of jobs, like the moving company. And I apologize for that. But it would. But I think it would be like such an ingenious a use of that, because I'd be afraid. I don't know. I don't think. Like, you see it in too many movies, like in Fly and in the original Star Trek. Remember where the two people they didn't get transported properly, and that can be nightmares, by the way. Remember that, where they couldn't get transported right?
Yeah, that happened on there was a recent episode. Well, not recent because it's an old series, but I've been rewatching Star Trek Enterprise. And there was an episode where because that took place before the original series.
Oh, right, yeah.
So they were still working out the teleportation stuff, and it was safe. But one of the crew members like felt like something was off, like after she got teleported, and it was all about they were still scared of the technology and stuff. It was really cool.
Oh wow, yeah. I mean, because that's a frightening thing. Like I think about it, what it's like doing. If you look at it in real terms, it's literally taking every molecule in your body and dismantling it, and then trust that it gets reassembled in exactly the right order on the other end. It's
there was a book I read. I think it might have been a time travel book. But in that one, I thought it was interesting because the theory was not that it's actually transporting your molecules. It's basically making an exact copy and then sending that. So when you were reassembled on the other end, you were essentially you were not your old self, because your old self was basically dead. You were just a complete recopy of yourself that had all the memories and everything, but still you were a copy.
Oh, that'd be a cool idea for a movie though. Imagine that, like the lost copies, like that you said, like so they're like stored somewhere and someone hacks that, and then like so 500 Tims come out, like or something. That's a cool plot. I'm sure it was a
cool concept. I feel like it was in a time travel book. That's how they got transferred back in time. But I thought it was such a cool, fascinating concept.
Yeah, well, it's funny because so many people like think of time travel as just like, like the, Back to the Future. Like, I'm just going to find a device and takes me back. But like, it's so funny when you actually talk to someone who's scientific about it, and they have that whole theory of like, no, time's not linear. You think it's linear, but it's really not. And then like I told you, I took that time travel class and I'm like, how cool does that sound, right? If you have to take an elective, it's time travel. And it was all about like theories and scientific things. I was like the first 3 classes, I was like, honestly, I was such a rube. I'm like, okay, when do we get into like Back to the Future stuff? Like,
it'd be cool as if you took a field trip to the 1500s or something.
Yeah,
like we're going on our field trip.
Yeah, like imagine that waiver having to sign by a parent, like if it was like kids or something. That'd be kind of cool. But yeah. But anyway, let's now that we've segued, hopefully for the did our segue. That's our tired segue.
Yes.
So we kind of get lazy with our segues when it's that. Well, we might as well we'll let Tim take it over here and introduce our first chop here.
Yep, here it is, our first chop. All right, Brian. So we're both doing the horror movie challenge this year, and horror 365 challenge, and I'm not going over every movie I've watched in these first chops, but I do want to point out the ones that I really particularly liked, because I think if you haven't seen these, they'd be good ones to put on your list. My first one was, and we'll just trade off, but my first one was American Gothic from 1987. I remember this VHS box cover. It's a parody of the old American Gothic painting of the farmer and his, I think it's actually his daughter, not his wife, but a lot of people say it's a farmer and his wife, with holding the pitchfork and all that. So I had seen this VHS cover every time I went to the video store, and I always wanted to rent this for some reason because the cover is so iconic and classic, and I never did. I never watched it. And so this one, I was going through the In Search of Darkness master list, which I'm still going through. I've got about 330 movies
I should
left.
probably look at that for some suggestions for my challenge.
Yeah. I do a random number generator, and whatever it picks, I just watch it.
Nice.
And so I finally this one came up on my random number generator, so I was like, yes, I can finally get to watch this one. And I believe it was on Tubi, like most of these are. And
I know, right?
It was actually really, really good. I'm surprised I had never seen this one. Again, 1987. It has a very Motel Hell feel to it. These group of kids, they get in a airplane. I can't remember where they were going, but they get in like this little private plane, and they end up having engine trouble, and they have to land on this kind of remote island. And on the island, as it turns out, is this weird family, and it keeps... As they keep introducing family members, they get weirder and weirder. One of the sons is played by Michael J. Pollard, who is like a famous character actor. You'd know him instantly when you saw him. He always plays these really eccentric parts.
Oh yeah, he was in like Sleepaway Camp 3.
Yeah.
But of course, he was in Dick Tracy. He was in.
He's been in tons of stuff.
What was the other one? Roxanne. I love him in with Steve Martin.
Yeah, he was in Scrooged.
Yeah,
Tango and Cash. He's been in a ton of stuff.
Oh, and wasn't he? It's famous was Bonnie and Clyde, I think, right? That was his.
Bonnie and Clyde, that was his big one.
Famous movies, yeah.
But the kids, quote unquote, kids in the movie are all like in their 50s, and they all still act like children, so it's kind of creepy. And so the teenagers or whoever, maybe they're 20 somethings, I don't know. You tell in the 80s, they all looked old. They have this run in with his family, and of course, crazy stuff ensues. And it was really super entertaining. Again, has that same tone of Motel Hell, kind of that comedic tone. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I wish I'd seen it earlier.
And this is the famous like Kim and Ket with the Where's Paul. That's where that came from, was this movie. Because I guess I haven't seen this, but this is the one where like supposedly like the character of Paul like disappears through like for the movie, like they leave him to watch the plane or something. I don't know. You would probably be able to tell me.
Yeah.
And I guess he doesn't come in, and like that was the one where they kept going, "Where the hell is Paul?"
Yeah.
And so that
Stephen
joke has been
Shellen
going
plays
on.
Paul.
Yeah, so it's like that's like the famous Kim and Ket one. It's like so funny how they have changed movies for me forever. Like that's what I always associate with, even though I haven't seen it yet. But I might have to put that up in my.
You need to put this one on your list. I think you'd really like this one, Brian. It's
I
really
love Motel Hell, so
yeah.
I see a couple I can't even talk about because a couple of them I watched this week are we're gonna like tomorrow's episode, which will be, we posted about this one, but of course I watched Frogman, and then there was the one obviously Psychic, which we're going to talk about today, and there's another one. I have to check the embargo before I talk about it. So I just watched it. So it's weird. Like if you see me sometimes catch up with a few at a time, that's why, because lately we're getting a ton of screeners.
Lots of screeners and interview opportunities too.
Yeah. And so we've been like I've been just trying to juggle that. So I've been trying to use those for the challenge. But of course the problem is like I can't really always discuss it yet because we do get sometimes embargo things like Frogman. I don't think we can discuss. That's why we're having to do the episode next week, because it releases like literally the day after the embargo. And so you'll see we have I believe tomorrow we have the interview lined up, which is with the director of Frogman. So we'll talk more about that one. That's why we only like kind of teased that. But anyway, a couple that I can talk about. One was Dark Skies, which I owned forever, and and I've been trying to go through my digital copies of horror films that I've owned that I haven't seen. Finally, so the especially since like the monolith is in boxes. This one was with the Kerry Russell, like Alien Invasion. Have you seen this one, Tim?
Yeah, I love this one.
I know. I can't believe. I was like, wow, all this time because I love this style of movie, where like aliens come down, but it's not like, I mean, yeah, sure, I love Independence Day, but I kind of like when it's more like centric on like a family or like an individual. Like that's why I love kind of Close Encounters, when it really focuses on a smaller group, because it's more because then always that element of like having to prove it, and then that scared. And this one was done so well. This was like had some really super creepy stuff in it. Kerry Russell, who I feel like, because I didn't put it on here, but I watched Antlers with her too. She's got some good horror cred in there, that the one that she's in. And so but this one was really good because this was like, it almost had like a good reveal at the end to find out that like a couple of things, and it was just Josh Charles is in it. He's always good, and J.K. Simmons in his small role in it is so good in this. So I if you like those like horror, like alien ones, like horror sci-fi mix, this is a so well done. I think I really like this one.
I've always thought this one and Fire in the Sky were the two like top alien movies.
I love Fire in the Sky. I saw that in the theater. I was so excited for that movie, and like it was one of the ones I went in and I was like, there's certain movies you get so excited to see in the theater, you're like almost giddy up until it. And that was like for some reason with Fire in the Sky, I just loved the trailer so much, and I love the cast was so good, and I love that one too. Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah.
The next one up I watched was Don't Go in the House, which we had a funny Twitter thread going with Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff Whitmire. He's the best.
Don't Go in the House, 1979, and I didn't know what to think of this one. I'd never heard of it before. Man, this one blew me away. This one was awesome. It's about this guy as a kid. He's very kind of a Norman Bates type character, because as a kid, his mother burned him anytime he did something wrong, and she always called him a sinner and would burn the sin out of him.
It's like a male Carrie.
Yeah, so he got an obsession with both his mom and with fire. And so he starts going kind of off the rails and bringing women home to flamethrower them to death. And it's so freaking awesome. Like the lead character in this is so interesting. I think I put that in my little mini review when I posted it on Twitter. It's such an interesting character, and he's it has that kind of gritty, because it's late 70s, so it still have kind of that gritty New York underground type feel. I don't remember where this took place. I don't think it was New York, but it still kind of has that feel of those New York gritty serial killer movies. And it has some actually really creepy sequences, especially towards the end, which I thought were outstanding. So if you haven't seen Don't Go in the House, I would highly recommend it. This one was easily one of the favorites I've watched this year of the older titles that I've gone back and watched that I've missed. So check that one out. That one's really good.
Yeah, so if you want to, it's a funny thing is he did grow up in New York. And the director Joseph Ellison. And you want to hear a funny, weird connection? He filmed a movie. He directed a movie called Joey, which was back in the 80s, and it used to be on. It came onto HBO a lot. And here's the weird connection about it. They filmed it at my high school, actually, and one of our gym teachers was like in it as a
really?
As like the cafeteria lady. Yeah. And I remember it was like such a big deal because I guess they filmed it over the summer when no one was there. And when we got back to school, everyone was like, "Oh my God, they filmed a movie in our school." It was so, and so I remember that when it hit HBO, like everyone was watching it and got all excited and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, so it's kind of funny like that director like just reminded me of like it always triggers in my head. So yeah, he's obviously a very New York guy. Because if he's filming in Jericho, Long Island, as his high school choice for a movie, and not like somewhere in Hollywood where he could do it, you see he's kind of loyal, I guess, to his state. He's proud of his state. It's a damn rare thing to do. Oh my God! Some of my mother-in-law said that last night because I was telling a story about a friend I had in college that would always, because her town came up, and I always used to laugh because whenever I would talk to her in college, she'd always somehow bring her where she lived up in within the first few seconds of you talking to her somehow. And so like she goes, "Oh, she's proud of her town." And I just started cracking up, of course, because of Tim. I'm like, "Oh God, if Tim were here, forget it. It'd be like the Francis McCain all over again."
It's really scary how much Planes, Trains, and Automobiles has taken over our entire mental capacity. Like
it does.
It's like the quotes between that and Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I mean, we're constantly those quotes are just constantly running in our head.
Yeah, and we do have the one that's like, of course, we have the Ghostbusters one that like. So of all the quotes in Ghostbusters, we have the private sector quote that we use in our text feed constantly. So the next one I watched is, and this is coming to Shudder next week, so everyone's got to watch it. And this has been out for a while, so a lot of people have seen this one, even though it's like not on Shudder yet. But we did get the screen for this. It's Satanic Hispanics, which is a lot of great Latin directors, and oh my God, is this movie? It's such a fun anthology. It starts like the wraparound segment is great. So the wraparound segment is it's like this character called the Traveler by oh my God, I'm going to butcher his name. So but the guy that played Pedro in Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh yeah.
Ephraim Ramirez. So he plays in it, and it's just so. It's like it's so weird because anytime you see him, and you know him as Pedro, it's like it's so funny. But in this, he's like kind of like this just great like storyteller guy, and it's like, but his story is kind of the wraparound that kind of connects all the different stories together in a weird way. But like it's not as obvious as like some anthologies will do, but this one was so good because it's like each director has, they have their own vision, and there's a couple in there that are like very like horror comedy based. Like there's this one about it's like an older Dracula couple, if you can imagine, and basically the whole premise of this is that he was out gallivanting and his wife's telling him to come home, and he realizes he might not be able to make it home before sundown, and just all this crazy stuff happens to him. But it's just really well done. The first story was is probably a lot of people say was the creepiest, because it's definitely more true horror based. And actually, Gigi Sol Guerrero's one was pretty horror based too. But there's one about a basically I can't actually. I'm not even gonna say what it is. Just the last one before the wraparound finishes it up is probably gonna be one of your favorites. It's like the guy with Destroy All Neighbors in it, and there's definitely a major comedy piece to it that I rather like. And you don't even know what the title is on this one until the said object comes into play. I'll just leave it at that. But basically, fans of anthologies will love this one. Tim, I think this one will blow you away.
Yeah, this one's been on my list ever since it was announced, I haven't got a chance to watch their screener yet. But that was definitely going on the list to watch.
It's just one of those ones where it's like and like Greg Grunberg is in it too. Mostly from a lot of J.J. Abrams stuff, like of course Snap Wexley in the Star Wars sequels. And he plays this detective in the beginning that's like grilling Ephraim Ramirez. And so it's like, but it's just, you know what it was? It's like one of those like anthologies that like, it basically, to me, it's why I like anthologies, kind of watching it. And so that it's like, that's the kind of like, it's like those exact kind of like anthologies I like, where there's a great wraparound story, when the wraparound story is as good as the other stories. And it's a really fun anthology.
Nice. Well, I watched another fun one that you've seen, Brian, and that was...
yeah. I'm so glad you finally got to see this.
Finally got to see this one when it came out on Netflix. That's Thanksgiving, which I kept mistakenly calling Thanksgilling the whole time. I was like, kids, let's go watch Thanksgilling. And I'm like...
That's the other one.
Yeah, and then I'm like... And then it was so... I was so confused that even when the title screen came up and said Thanksgiving, I was like, why did they put Thanksgiving and not Thanksgiving? I'm like, because that's not the name of the movie.
But that title doesn't like that whole, like, it's so funny. The opening of that movie is so long, like the preface of it. You almost forget what you're watching anyway.
I know. So I watched this with the kids. I was a little hesitant because I'd heard it maybe not be suitable for them. But actually, aside from it's got some fantastic gore, which the kids don't mind at all.
Yeah,
it really wasn't that bad. For their
I wouldn't think with what they've seen already, especially.
Yeah. So I was pleasantly surprised that I didn't have to fast forward through any scenes or anything. But man, let me tell you, the kids absolutely loved this one. Absolutely loved it. I mean, Joshua wants to go as the pilgrim for Halloween this year. That's how much he loved it. And Anna loved it too. I think they said I asked them why they liked it so much, and they said because it really reminded them of Scream. Which I can kind of see.
I see that. Oh, yeah. I totally get that. Yeah.
They really liked it because it reminded them of Scream, but they also loved the kills, which I think I'm raising a bunch of two little gore heads now because they love the crazy.
You gotta watch those Joshua's meetings now, like his board meetings. He may be like opening up like a whole horror franchise behind your back.
But, I thought it was great. I thought it was entertaining throughout, and even though it doesn't really. It's a very typical slasher formula. I mean, it doesn't really break any new ground that way, but I thought the kills were so good in it.
Yeah.
And the whole premise was just so much fun that, I didn't mind. And the whole, like you said, the wraparound was so unexpected. I didn't see that being the angle that it kind of really caught my attention and made it really interesting throughout. So, yes, Thanksgiving 2023. I loved it. The kids loved it. Glad I finally got to see it finally on Netflix.
Yeah. And I've been into those like crazy but remember that story I told you about my friend going to Walmart on the opening like that? That was like that's kind of like what it got like on times. I've been to those, not to the point where people died, but it was like where people would go screaming at store employees and like it's their fault and like the guards and stuff. Now let me ask you a question now, and I not trying to sound like I'm like this like guru or something. But without giving it away, who the person who ended up being the killer, I guessed. How did you go through that? Because it's obviously one of those ones, again, like Scream, where you're kind of wondering, it has that element, who's the killer, what's the motive kind of thing. Now, I didn't get the 100% motive right until obviously after, if you think back, there's clues.
Yeah.
But I kind of guessed that was the one, but for a weirder reason, which I'll reveal when we do. I figure we'll do this movie as a full episode at holiday time.
Yeah, I figured we would. I will say I was asking the kids throughout who they thought it was, and I will say I was not surprised. I'll put it that way. I can't say that I actually guessed it like way beforehand, but I was eliminating people throughout because I was like, well, they're wanting to make you think it's this person, so it's obviously not that person. It followed that kind of formula.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like either they were and it's not a bad thing because that's what makes those movies fun.
Yeah,
that's its shtick. So it's like where it's some movies it could be you could consider it like a fault or bad filmmaking, let's say. But no, that's the formula for these. That is a specific type of it's almost like it's its own subgenre, like those Scream movies, or like its own subgenre upon a subgenre because. They follow that formula of purposely just throwing red herrings at you the entire time. And the more the red herring it is, the more, the more obvious who, it's pointing towards the actual killer if you pay attention.
Yeah.
And the thing is it's funny because a lot of times if you watch, it's like even like some of them I think Scream did this at least once in all of them, where they almost like circle back, where they make it so obvious and then they kind of steer you away. And then you bring back full circle.
Yeah, I'll have to say I feel like I didn't guess it, but I eliminated everybody that I had pretty much eliminated everybody but the killer by the time it was revealed, so I wasn't surprised. So that was kind of, but
yeah. So you just went the long.
I went the
game.
elimination route. Yeah, but it's didn't hurt my fun of the movie at all. Like,
it was so fun. Like even when like in my head I'm like, okay, it's pretty sure. Like I was even like looking for other clues to point towards said person, and I'm like, yeah, it's gotta be that person. But the thing is, it didn't matter because I still loved the ride of that movie. Like even Julie had fun. She's not a big slasher person. Like she's not like she'll watch it, but she loved going that. We went and saw it in the theater, and she loved it. She thought it was one of like a really fun horror movie. So.
Yeah, and Eli Roth knows horror enough that he knows he's doing a formulaic. I mean, he knew exactly what he was doing. I mean,
and there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
I don't want you to come off as like, oh, it's formulaic, because if you do the formula. You follow a formula and you do it correctly, and there's enough engagement of the great fun characters around it, then there's nothing wrong with it. Every movie follows a formula if you look at it somewhere.
If you think about him, he's very much catering to fans. So I believe that he knows that we know it's a formula, and so he's making it fun.
Yeah, the way I look at it is like Eli Roth horror movies, especially his horror movies, are. You almost have to imagine as he makes these as if he's sitting there next to you watching it with you.
Right,
and
exactly.
That, and there's something about that you may not like his movies, but you have to admire that because he's a fan first. And like when you see him do that horror show he did on AMC for a while, like I love that show. You could tell he loved it. He loves horror. He loves making it. He loves watching it. He loves interacting with the fans with it. So he makes the movies as a fan, and that's why I think all his horror movies always have that like fun element to it because of that reason. He just knows what he's doing, he's like he knows what the fans want to see.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I really like that one. I guess we need to get to our movie, which this one was this was really kind of a blind pick. We every week we don't really plan these things out weeks in advance.
No,
so what
we used to back in the old days. Remember we had like I haven't even done the little schedule I was going to do anymore. But I do want to. I will eventually get to a thing where I make an entire file of our history of Civil Gore, where we have like every episode what we talked about in there, and maybe if we get some AI to do it.
It's usually literally like, what movie we're going to do this week? Because we're like recording tomorrow. I don't know. Let's just do this one, and we just pick something, and usually it's something on Shudder because that's a really good source to see what they've put out recently. And sometimes it's a new movie, and sometimes, like in this case, it's an old movie. But I thought this one was a good pick only because it was a Lucio Fulci movie that we had never seen. And those are always worth watching. Yeah. One of the Italian masters.
Any kind of Lucio Fulci, Giallo type movies are always like, they're always going to be like, if it's available and we haven't seen it, there's a good chance we'll pick it eventually.
Yeah. So we've decided to do this one, and I will have to say, in all fairness, when I started this movie, I even texted Brian. I was like, "This is the most boring movie. I don't. This is boring.
It's slow.
It was slow, and I felt like part of that. I think there was two reasons for that. The first reason was I was under pressure to get it watched because we were going to record today, so I kind of had to finish it. So I was like, "Come on, pick up the pace." And then number two, I think because it was a Fulci movie, I was expecting the Fulci gore in the, because when I think Fulci, I think that's hardcore Italian gore fest. Like that's what that's going to be. But this is not. This is a very different style for him. Like Brian said, very Giallo style, very cinematic, very classy, very elegant. And I was not expecting that. However,
cinematically, though, it was really good cinematography throughout the whole thing. A lot of nice colors and stuff.
But once I wrapped my head around that this was not the Fulci movie I thought I was going to get, and I appreciated it on its own terms, it redeemed itself. By the end of it, I really liked it. Yeah, by the end of it, I really, really liked it. This one is The Psychic from 1977. It is also known as Sette Note in Nero, 7 Notes in Black. It's I think there's even in the title card of this version, it was called The Psychic or Murder to the Tune of the 7 Black Notes.
Yeah, I was like, why is that subtitle so long?
But all these Giallo movies have those weird, crazy titles. I love those titles. This one stars obviously directed by Lucio Fulci, starring Jennifer O'Neill as Virginia Ducci, Gabriele Ferzetti as Emilio Rospini, Mark Perel as Luca Fattori, Gianni Garco, not to be confused with Donnie Darko.
I know. Every time I see that written, I'm like, is it Johnny Darko? Is it Donnie Darko? It's like Italian friend or something?
As Francesco Ducci, Ida Galli, Gloria Ducci, Jenny Tamburi as Bruno.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's Ida Galli as Gloria Ducci.
Ida Galli as Gloria Ducci. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Jenny Tamburi as Bruna and Fabrizio Giovini as Commissioner Delia.
All these have to have a Fabrizio in it. I think that's the rule.
And it just reminds me of like
kind of
Febreze. Like, I see Fabrizio, I just think of like fabric deodorizer.
I always think of Titanic.
A clairvoyant woman discovers a skeleton in a wall in her husband's house and seeks to find the truth about what happened to the victim. And this one, it starts off really interesting because
I think, and spoilers are going to be in this discussion, by the way.
I think so.
It's from 1977. If you have not watched it yet either, now just pause it, watch it, and then come back. Because I think we need to spoil this in terms of for some of its discussion points. So.
Yeah. So Virginia, as a child, basically psychically has a vision of her mother committing suicide, even though her mother is miles and miles away.
Which I have to say was one of the most graphic.
Well,
jump off the cliff moments.
I know that. Well, that's what fooled me because I was like, "Oh, yes, this is going to be gore," because
I know, and like it was like
suicide.
It was like well done. Like I mean, yes, you could tell it was not. It was a person, not a person like
a dummy
in there, but
yeah,
but still, it was like really well done. Like and like a little shocking, but maybe that was his like, okay, I'm going to get this out of the way now.
Yes, exactly.
Sorry, Tim, I forgot to tell you, but that's what it's coming. You know,
yeah,
he didn't get to tell you, but
so that was great. So we find out she's a psychic. Then we cut to when she's an adult, and I'll tell you what I was getting frustrated with at first. It was kind of cool, but also I was getting frustrated with it because it was overused. But so she gets these psychic flashes, and the way they portray these in the movie, which I thought was very clever, because she sees not like a continuous narrative of what's going to happen. She sees flashes of just scenes of objects, like a broken mirror or a hole in a wall or a dead woman, and she just sees these flashes. She doesn't know how they're connected.
Yeah, she's kind of like an incomplete psychic. She doesn't get full details.
But if you read about like people who claim to have psychic powers, that's how they claim they get the visions.
Yeah.
Like, they don't know what they mean. They just get these flashes. So I thought that was very clever.
There's like an element of having to put it together.
Yeah,
like, with all the psychics.
So I like that piece of it. But what I was getting kind of comically frustrated with is like every time they would do this, they would like close up on her eyes. And like I was like, this movie has got to have the most eye shots, like close up eye shots per capita of any movie I've ever seen in my life. Although Jennifer O'Neill's not bad to look at in terms of her eyes, like she's absolutely
she's
gorgeous,
very attractive woman.
But
from the 70s there.
But yeah, it was getting kind of comical. I was like, every time they close up shots on her eyes was getting kind of over crazy. But yeah, so she gets this vision and she realizes that there's something behind this wall in her husband's house, and so she knocks the wall down and she discovers a skeleton, and this creates this whole series of events where now she feels compelled to not only clear her husband of the murder of whoever this was in the wall, but also try to figure out what all these visions mean.
See, this is where the giallo really comes in, like this plot,
the mystery
right here.
The mystery piece.
That like when it twists into that whole thing, and you notice how everyone is so calm. They're like accused of murder and always so calm.
Yes,
like in the giallo films, he's like, oh well, it's okay. I know I didn't do it. I'll be here. It's all right. Just I'll call you later. I have to rearrange some meetings, but I'll be out of jail in a week.
This one is interesting because this one has the feel of giallo film, but it doesn't have a lot of the markings. Like typically you would have a killer that's killing people.
Right. Yeah, there's no actual killer stalking.
Yeah, like stalking.
Well, there is a moment where you think you might have that coming late towards the end, but
there's not it's not like a typical what you would typically think of, but it still has the same feel of one because she's trying to she gets another person involved to help her solve the mystery. That's a common element. She's trying to put clues together, which is a common element. Like, so it has a lot of the same feel without the actual serial killer part, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, and it definitely like there's a lot of this movie like gives out vibes of a lot of other films. There's one I'll mention once we get to the end of this, because I don't want to give it away yet, but and you'll see what I mean when we get to it. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good because I think the way they revealed it, there were like, there were like little bits of red herrings in there that they threw in. But not so like obvious, like, because remember, it's like you're trying to look through her and she's trying to interpret it as you are. So it's like you're kind of going along with her ride. Like they're basically, I feel like that's what the whole intention was, to give you like the glimpses and have you start thinking about it yourself while she's trying to piece it together at the same time, because nothing's so obvious in this,
And since we're giving spoilers, there's a huge twist in this movie, which I thought was very brilliant. Yes. And it was that this whole time you and the character are thinking she's seeing visions of a past murder, when in fact she's seeing visions of the future. And there's a point where that whole thing flips, and that's when the movie got really interesting for me. Yeah, when you see this flip from realizing she's not seeing psychic visions of the past, she's seeing psychic visions of what's to come, which I thought was
would make more sense, because that's what
that's usually
like, if you think about it, like if you're a psychic, what do you want to know what happened already? You want to know what's about to happen.
It's like that Simpsons episode where Lisa goes to the fortune teller, and the fortune teller's telling her all this stuff about her. She goes, "Oh, you can see the present."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like thanks.
So there's some interesting trivia on this one though. So apparently, Quentin Tarantino was in talks to make a remake of this, and it was going to star Bridget Fonda in the Jennifer O'Neill role.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah, actually,
and really this was back in the mid 2000s or 2009, I think, was when it was first.
Well, but then Christoph Waltz plays the husband.
Yeah, but
I'm simply trying to ascertain the.
But I feel like that would have been freaking awesome. But it never materialized. I don't think he ever had the rights to it, but he did get an homage to this movie, because in Kill Bill Volume 1 uses some of the music from this movie. Particularly, okay. I believe the music from like The Watch or something that she had that played. So he has. Oh yeah,
that like is basically as you get to the very end, that basically is a very important element.
Yeah, so I thought that was really cool, and the score itself is also really fabulous. It's by
Fabio Frizzi. That we see him in our Dismemberments millions of times.
Yeah, Fabio Frizzi. He did tons of score. He did the score for Zombie. So there were some other ones. I looked him up on IMDb. He's done.
Wait, it wasn't the Cranberries?
No, not that Zombie.
Zombie. Oh, that different one. Okay.
But yeah, he did this was a fabulous score, because I've actually got several Giallo scores on vinyl, and I've got one that was really okay. I've got one that's like, I can't remember the name of the movie because it's all in Italian, but it's like The Red Queen Strikes at Midnight or some crazy thing, and that one is it's good, but it's very repetitive. Like it's the same motif over and over, and it's a 2 LP set. So I just listened to it again the other day because I'm going through. I listen to all my albums every year. I try to listen to all of them, and it was like I was like, okay, I've heard this theme now like 10 times. Like I'm done. And then that's one hallmark of some of these Giallo films. And then the other one I've got is a compilation, and it's themes from all kinds of Giallo films. And that one's really cool. That's a really cool compilation. I'll have to do I need to do a YouTube video on that one.
Yeah, you should. We need to like really start doing those little side things.
Yeah. So I was
like real podcasts do, you know?
Because I was thinking, it'd be nothing for us. Even if it's like a 10-minute video, we could put up a video of, hey, these are the cool Blu-rays I just got, or here's the board game.
I know. We need to really do that. I need, especially since like, it's like our YouTube is essentially our just our podcast most of the time, and we did talk about doing the Dismemberments back to video again.
Yeah, so I think we're going to do that because our YouTube channel actually gets a pretty decent amount of views, and I hate to neglect that, and I think it would get more if we added some video content. But anyway,
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I'll try to do a video rundown of that because that's such a great compilation. It's not hard to find either. I think I ordered mine at Target of all places.
Yeah, and think about it. I have all those like horror challenge, the horror con videos I never even posted or I did anything with. I mean, stuff like that we need to start putting, if you go to like the comic book store and find some cool stuff, like, get that kind of stuff.
And most of these videos, like people don't care to watch 2-hour videos. That if a 10-minute video is fine. People like watching 10-minute videos.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, just a little sidetrack on videos that I hate. This is the one thing I cannot stand is when you try and Google like a how-to something and you find a video, and like all the results are YouTube videos. And I get it because sometimes it's easier to show as you're doing something rather than step by step. Some people need the visual. But when the first 10 minutes of your video is so, you want to know how to clean your computer. First, let's go back to the early days. Computers were invented by the... I'm like, no, okay,
oh my God.
Enough. Just get to the point. And I remember one of those, it was the stupidest... I may have told this story. I apologize if I did, but it wouldn't be the first or second or 30th time I've done that. But I remember one time I was traveling to LA to go visit my brother, and I stopped at a gas station. I got out, and I went to open the trunk, and it only opened halfway. And I'm like, oh, what the heck's going on? I said, and I kept playing with it. I could not figure it out. I'm like, oh, great. My trunk is broken. It's not going to work. And it's like, I have to crawl under. So I go in. I'm like, but maybe let me see if it's just something I a way to fix it. Like maybe something's blocking it. So I search, of course, there's 8 videos come up of and they're all 10 minutes long. I'm like, all right, well, I already know if it's 10 minutes long, it's either going to be 9 minutes of something I don't want to know, or it's really intensive and I'm going to need to take it into a dealer or a shop or something. Finally, I see one video. It's 1 minute and 19 seconds long or something like that. I'm like, all right, there's my guy. So I go on and literally the guy's like, he goes, and it started off. I'm like, oh no, please don't do it. He's like, so you have a problem with your trunk? And he goes, I got to fix that. We'll fix it in 5 seconds. And I'm like, thank God. And he goes, here's what it is. He goes, see this button over here? And he the camera goes down and it shows it. And I'm like, he's like, hit that. If you hit that button sometimes with your knee, which a lot of people tend to do. And I'm like, oh my God, I totally do that. And it basically, what it does is it locks in a memory of your trunk opening halfway somehow. And so he's like, just press that button again and then and then open your trunk. And that was it. 1 minute, 19 seconds. Perfectly done.
Those are the heroes of YouTube.
And he was right.
Yeah, those are the heroes.
It is. That guy, I wanted to I think I like this thing, and I it's and then, usually half these videos are, don't forget to smash that like button. I promised him we do those videos. We cannot do that. That kills me.
Oh, yeah, I will promise not to do that because I'm not trying to make any money off being a YouTuber.
Yeah, we're not going to say click to subscribe. We're not going to tell you smash that like button down there.
I hope you will, but I'm not going to.
You're not smashing it.
No, you're not smashing
Why do they smash it? You hit it once. That's not smash. That's hit.
If I do say it, it's going to be as a joke.
Yes, it will be a joke. Yeah. We're not. Yeah, we don't. Listen. We're not trying to convince anyone to do it. If you're there on there, you're there for a reason. And fine. We're not. Yeah, we're not trying to make YouTube dollars here.
What's weird is I don't understand YouTube views. So most of our episodes get what I would consider a decent 40, 50 views. Which is fine, because a lot of people are listening just to the podcast. The fact that the YouTube version of the podcast got 40, 50 views, I think is great. But we had one dismemberment one time that got 500 views. And it wasn't even a video. It was just us talking.
Really?
Yeah, it was
someone just kept watching.
I don't know. It was a 560 some views. I was like, why? It was a July 2022 dismemberment. I have no clue why.
Now I got to go back to see what that one was all about.
It's so funny. You never know what these things are, but yeah, we'll start doing them. We'll see how it goes. I mean, if we only get 2 views a video, maybe we just won't do them. But if we get more, then and you guys like them, then we'll keep doing them. Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, I got a sidetrack. Yeah. But about the psychic. So at the end too, when you get the reveal at the end, you know what it reminded me of a little bit of? Don't Look Now. That the whole time, remember he was seeing this vision, and it turned out to be a completely different thing than he thought, and it was tied more back to him. That's I kind of got that vibe when you got the big reveal at the end of this movie.
I got a vibe of that movie, The Snorkel.
I still haven't watched that.
Hammer film, The Snorkel, and when you watch it, I think you might understand why.
Okay. I want to watch it. I have that Hammer set, and I was smart, Tim. I boxed So when I boxed all my Blu-rays, I boxed them, alphabetically order in the boxes, but horror got their own series of boxes in alphabeutical order. So
There
I'll
you
be
go.
able to find the Hammer one pretty easily. And
Yeah,
pull
that
that
Snorkel, that was a great movie. I like that one. But yeah.
Didn't David Weiner joke about that too? We joked about that with him, the Snorkel.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I thought it was awesome. But yeah, so I don't know. I this one redeemed itself in me. I think Jennifer O'Neill does a great job. She carries this whole movie.
She does a really good job actually.
She's very both sympathetic but also strong, and I don't know. I really just like the whole vibe of her character. She's very elegant, very classy. The whole thing, like Brian was saying, the cinematography is gorgeous. It has those famous Giallo colors that just pop, like these rooms that are just completely red.
That one. Oh my
god,
that
one room was it was like gaudy, but at the same time, you couldn't take your eyes off of it.
Yeah. It was basically like a red version of Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, exactly.
You see in those videos, those gaudy gold, but this one is red.
So I just, once I wrapped my head around, like, when I started watching the movie for what it was and not for what I was expecting, that's when everything turned. And like I said, the great twist, it kind of redeemed itself for me. So I went back and looked, after I'd watched the movie, at a ranking of Fulci's movies on IMDb, like his top 25 movies, and somebody did a ranking, and this one came in at number 5.
Wow,
which is really high. So I was pretty impressed by that. I was like, well, now I see.
Well, I bet you, because it appeals to a broader fan base, because some people, there are horror fans that just aren't big on gore. And so this kind of gives, but this has a little gore in it, so it kind of matches. I feel like more people can appreciate this movie.
Yeah. Oh, and going back to the score, because that's where I got sidetracked. But the score is it's very beautiful. It's very understated, and it's not like I said, some of the Giallo scores are very repetitive, and then some of them also are very abrasive, like very discordant or don't fit the scenes. They have that weird thing where they play really pleasant music during kills, which sometimes work and sometimes doesn't in these. But I thought this score was really good and consistent throughout, and I saw that praised in a lot of the reviews afterwards after I watched it too, that everybody kind of liked the score. So check that out while you're watching it. Keep an eye out, or keep an ear out, I should say, for the score. But yeah, so I really like this one. Check it out on Shudder.
Yes. Shudder's got the whole Fulci Giallo thing going on.
I was going to do my big Fulci Argento, Italian masters type discography, go through all of them. I still haven't done it. I've still got that list out there of all of them, so I'll have to mark this one off, but I'll get to them eventually. All of them. So what did we do for our beer pairing this week?
So I got one. This is from your home state there, Tim, of North Carolina. This Charlotte, of course. That's still hours away from you, but still in your state. And the way your breweries are going in that state, you need to hang on to every one.
Oh, this is the one that isn't this the one that got shut down or something?
Oh, did they? I
thought
it was...
Wooden Robot. No, not the one. I know the one you're talking about. But because Steve sent me an article about this one, Wooden Robot.
Oh, they got shut down also?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, okay, so you're losing 2 breweries here.
I want to look at while you're reading the description. I'll look up the details.
Okay, yeah. Well, and if it is, grab all the beer of this you can. Then I guess this one is Psychic Dynamite from Wooden Robot Brewery in Charlotte, as I said, 5%, and it's a West Coast style session IPA, and it's brewed with 100% Epiphany Foundation malt. Very clever. Hopped with a Mosaic and Vista for loads of juicy yet dank fruit flavor and a crisp, enjoyable bitter finish.
Oh, yeah. So, this is the co-founder of Wooden Robot died recently.
Oh, that's what happened.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Yes, he died. Okay. All right, so that's not as bad. The one we're talking about, if you look, we're not going to go into the whole details, but look up Edward Teach Brewing.
Oh my gosh, it's been such
which
a
is
drama.
So funny because I was dying to go there, but then as Tim kept revealing elements to it, I'm like, all right, maybe I won't go there.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, okay, maybe it's he said, she said, but then you just found out more and more and more. Just we're not going to go into the long story. Just look it up. You'll see plenty.
Put it this way, I'm not buying Edward Teach anymore. So even though it was one of my favorite local beers, but not anymore.
You still got the best, one of the best ever new anthem. So let make sure they're on the up and up.
Nice. So our fan topic food question this week is: if you were a psychic, what would you use the ability for? Yeah. I've got the most shallow answer for this, but I'm just gonna say it. I would use it to make money.
Yeah. So you'd be like Biff Tannen.
I'd be getting the lottery numbers, or I would be getting the stock prices. That's all I would use it for. That's all I want it for.
See, I would like I mean I'm kind of there also because I think I'd want to do it, but the kind of person I am, like I'd want to keep doing it to make sure that everyone every friend, family member I cared about had nothing to worry about anymore. I'd kind of move it to that thing. Of course, I'd buy myself a ton of crap, but I'd also want to do it for good. Like I totally would I would want to buy it, make sure or then if I saw a story online about these people are struggling, need an operation, I'd purposely take that next bet I'd make that I'd psychically see the winner to and donate it to them, kind of thing. I'd want to use it for good also.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely wouldn't use it for any kind of evil purposes.
Yeah. Well, and it's sure, I'd probably if someone came up to me and asked oh, can you help solve this crime? I'll be like, well, yeah, but if it's if we're going on the premise that the psychic is purely for the future kind of thing and not like current stuff, I think that there is that you have to make that distinction. If you're a psychic, there's some psychic people I think they'll even say well, I can only see this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I can't see everything. And is that actually psychic, or is that just good hunches? Are you just a good guesser? Everyone feels like they're psychic at moments. How many times have you said how'd you know that? I'm psychic, and you joke about it,
yeah.
but you really had that thought. But you wonder could it be just is your mind completely just playing the odds of things?
Yeah.
Of and mixing it with part past experience, part logic, part playing the odds.
And there's also the thing that you're going to have coincidences occur, and you're not going to remember. If you dream something and it comes true, you're going to remember that, and you're going to tell all your friends. But if you have hundreds of dreams a year that don't come true, right, you don't remember those, and you don't tell stories about them. So if you play the odds that way, then you're bound to stumble across a few acorns once in a while, right? I've dreamed stuff that came true. But I don't necessarily, that doesn't mean I'm psychic. It just means I just coincidentally dreamed something that came true.
Well, yeah, and I think it all connects to those whole deja vu things, where it's people say oh my God, I feel like this happened before. And I'm like, well, it probably, and some people say, well, no, it's just literally because your mind almost had a blip as it was happening and made it feel like it had, kind of thing. Everyone will, anytime you come up with something like that, someone will have a logistic reason why it happened. But mine are things I'll say, there's certain things I'll have where I'm I call them premonition dreams, and it doesn't, it'll just, and the reason why they seem different than other dreams is because I think there just involves a situation that I've already probably been thinking about subconsciously. And that's the way I so I say that. But also, how many times have you had dreams of, people that you, have no idea who they are, but you're, they're so constant in your dreams like that? To me, those are the weird ones. But, you also have one, but then if you have one where it's, it's someone that you, say you're hanging out with, you and me, Ken, we're at the horror con or something like that, and with things like that have actually happened, so you sometimes twist that into could that be a future or is that past just mixed up kind of a thing,
Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you, Anna told me a creepy thing one time when she was young, a little bit younger, and she said she would have premonitions of something that but they're always minor things, super minor things, something somebody was going to say, somebody in her class was going to say. But the creepy part of it was, she said, anytime that one of them came true, she would feel sick to her stomach. It was almost like she.
Oh, that's kind of weird.
It was kind of creepy. She said, and I was like, "What are you talking about, Anna?" And she was like, "I know when people are going to say certain things, and then when they say it, it makes me feel sick." And I'm that's creepy crap bag kids.
I know. I said, what's going on? First she haunts you in the middle of the night that time, when she said, well, and it's funny too because they had I'll say that a lot with with the Ranger games. I mean, I've watched over my lifetime. I mean, I've literally been watching Ranger games since, I obviously didn't understand it the way I do now, but literally my dad would have it on. And so I was since 2 years old, I was a Ranger fan, I will say, because I was I had this giant, inflatable hockey player with the Rangers in my room. So I was always Rangers were in my blood from the beginning. So I've watched, I can't even tell you how many games over the years now, over 50 years old here. And so it's I'll watch these games, and granted, obviously the players have changed over the years. They're never the same players, but I'm watching it, and I said, oh, I know what's going to happen. I said, the Rangers are going to give up a tying goal now, and then they're going to give up a next goal like a little bit later and lose this game 2-1. And that happened so many times. And like Julie's like, she's like, well, she'll just like look at me. I said, I've seen this game a million times already. I said, this is what they do. I don't know why. It's what they do. She's like, yeah. She's like, you're willing it to happen. Like you're jinxing them, or not really, but she's like, you're like causing it to happen. But and I'm like sitting there thinking, I'm like, is it that just because I've seen so many times where it's happened, so it has the same feeling.
And you might be picking up on things that occurred when that did happen that you're seeing again, but you're not consciously recognizing.
Right. And that's actually the perfect way to explain it. That's what I meant. Like, because, when you see something, when something happens over and over again, yeah, you're right. There's probably a subconscious feeling that you get, and then it translates it in your brain, because your brain probably part of me thinks like brains shouldn't be able to like they may not be able to handle actually true psychic things like that. Like, can you imagine though what your mind was like? Say like, Tim, if you could really like in reality be able to tell the future all the time, I don't think you could function.
No.
A normal person could not function properly, because like, what would you do? Like, I'd be afraid to move if I truly could see everything that comes in the future.
Yeah,
like that.
I mean, down to the point like I know I'm going to bang my leg against the bed. Like, you'd be scared to death to walk in. And how would you? Yeah, you'd be frozen. Like, you'd know it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I truly think if someone is that so psychic, they could see everything like in the future. And then you could say, well, just don't get up and walk the other way. I'm like, yeah, but then you're going to just see something else is going to happen. You literally won't be able to get, like, think about, like, one of the best things in life are those surprises, those great moments that you don't see coming. Imagine, you would basically have none of that.
Yeah.
All that's gone. If you were a true psychic, you would have no surprises in life. You would have no unexpected joy. I mean, yes, you'd be prepared for the sorrow, but that's even worse, because literally, if you knew something horrible was going to happen, like say you knew someone like close is going to die in the next week or something, like, how would you even react to them? You'd basically ruin the last time you had together.
Yeah.
It's like people think, like these things, these like same thing with, people always want these superpowers or super abilities. Like I'd be happy with every so often having a psychic moment where like maybe I could prevent something bad from happening by like just a feeling. Like that's the limit I would like, because everyone gets that. Do you ever get like just a bad feeling?
Yeah.
Like, you know what? No, I don't think I should do this. I don't think I should drive this way or something. I mean, I'll go a different direction this time. I just have a weird feeling. I'm gonna, I mean, you hear people say that all the time. To me, that's the limit I'd actually like. I mean, yes, it'd be great to be able to predict every sporting event possible and win tons of money, but at some time, even that would probably at some level get a little boring.
Yeah.
Does it become a job, And granted, I'd still be helping people, so it'd feel good, but at the same time, it's like, then I know myself. Then I'd feel like, well, now I'm not helping enough people. And now I feel guilty because I couldn't help them. I didn't know about them in time.
Too much of anything can be bad. Like I watched a documentary one time about children of these that were super rich. But I mean, when I say children, I mean like, grown adult children of these people that owned like, Procter and Gamble. And like, they were inheritant. They would stand to inherit, millions upon millions of dollars. They were so rich they could go in anywhere and buy anything. And were any of them happy? Not a single one of them in that documentary was happy, because like one guy said, I always thought this was so interesting. He said, I could walk into any car lot and buy any car on the lot right now and pay cash for it. He said, I could go into any store and buy any suit and pay cash for it. I could go anywhere and buy anything I wanted. And he said, but when you get to that level, none of it brings you any joy, because you haven't worked for it. You haven't earned it. There's no surprise in it, because you can do it at any time. And for him, he said the only way he got any satisfaction buying anything was if it was custom. So he had to get like custom suits or custom, like super custom car.
Well, yeah, because at least it gives him creative juices going or something flowing.
Other than that, he had he got no joy from buying things. I thought it was kind of interesting. Like people think like I would like love to be like a millionaire, and you would to a point to help your friends and family out and stuff. But I think at some point, at some point you have to have more. There's more to life than that. Than these things.
Well, and the only reason you're thinking that is because you're not at that moment. So what happens when you get there?
Yeah.
Then what are you waiting for? Like it's almost like like to me, like the anticipation of things are more fun sometimes than the actual event.
Yeah.
Because you almost have to like balance that, like how excited. Don't get your too many expectations, because then it could never live up to it. And it's the same thing. So like along those lines, like it's like, sure, I'd love to have $1 million to go in there, but even after a while, then what are you waiting for after that?
Yeah.
In the end, it probably causes more problems.
Yeah.
Someone like me who feels like has the worst guilty conscience on the planet over everything. I feel like, okay, I have all this person doesn't have it, but I don't have enough to go around for everybody. How do I discern it? Yeah, and pass it on to this person versus that person. And then like, what am I, then I'd be always nervous. I'm like, okay, now I have it, but what if I lose it?
Oh yeah.
There's too
much.
It's like, that's why they say the money can't buy happiness, and that old slogan, and it's the truth. You can't, like, what was the truth? Remember, you can buy happiness, but you can rent it. Wasn't that Weird Al Yankovic song?
Yeah, you could rent it.
But like, I mean, it's true. It's like, yeah, you can get to, like, it'd be nice to not have to take some worries away from your life, but at the same time, those worries like are part of the driving force for you to be, to grow as a person. Why are we always going to grow as a person?
I don't know.
Where did this podcast go?
I've always told Olivia, like, if I won the lottery and I had like $600 million, like, I wouldn't go buy a yacht. I wouldn't even go buy I wouldn't even buy like a super fancy car.
You just listen to more yacht rock.
Yes.
Right?
No, but I mean, I would probably, I don't even know that I would move. I mean, I'd pay off my house. I'd pay off my mom's house. I'd pay off my brother. I'd buy a house for my brother, if they wanted one. But it's like, at what point do I don't need a freaking helicopter. I don't need a private jet.
Yeah.
Like, that's none of that stuff appeals to me. Like, I think I would be pretty much the same as I am now, except for the fact that I would travel more. Definitely travel more.
I think that's what I would do a lot
Yeah.
more. I would definitely use a lot to travel, because
It'd be travel.
because then you're still kind of getting something. You're still growing as a person. You're getting new experiences.
Yeah.
You're seeing more places. You're appreciating other things. And who knows what you could discover on that you could possibly use your money for something better. Like, you could see in a poor impoverished town that could use a boost of finances or something.
I don't need a freaking Lamborghini to go to Walmart. It's like, I wouldn't want the pressure of that. I wouldn't want the pressure of having a car like that. I'd have to park somewhere and be scared to death it's getting dinged.
Yeah, and honestly, it's like someone told me once, they're like, oh, if you I forgot who I was discussing with, but I was like, if you had all the money in the world, what kind of car would you get? And I'm like, I said, I love my Subaru. I'd probably just get the best version of that car because I like it. Why do I have to get something I don't like just because it's not a status symbol? Why would I need $100 million car just because I could afford it? No, I'd get what I want. If I'm going to be happy, I might as well be happy with the things I really want, not like I don't want a helicopter either. A yacht would be fun, but I wouldn't want to maintain it.
No.
Have you ever heard a boat owner? They said the two best days of your owning a boat are the day you buy it and the day you sell it. And so there's a reason that, because my stepdad had one and he loved a boat, but it was like it became too stressful for him. And he kept it in such, this is like, they said this was unheard of. He kept it in such pristine condition. He basically sold it for what he bought it for.
Dang, that's pretty good.
Which is impossible. They said like it's nearly impossible. But he kept it, cleaning it. But that's why like he hated having it, because we'd take it out, he'd come back, he'd spend 3 hours cleaning it, getting it, make it look so pristine again. Didn't want anything wrong. And, to the point of where like, he was like, I'd rather just rent a boat when I want to go on a boat now. It's like, so same thing with me. Like, it should be fun to like that. Like, you know what I do? Like, if I had to, I'd get like you guys all together. I'd get my family together. I'd rent a yacht for like a week.
Exactly.
And just,
you don't have to worry about it the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think really. It's it's like, yeah, it's like, because I mean, it's not like I'm the biggest boat person to begin with. I feel like that's the funniest thing, that these have become the symbols. Like, oh, you're rich, you're gonna have a fancy car, a yacht, a helicopter. I'm like, no. I mean, maybe
I'm not a car guy either.
I will say the one selfish thing I might do is I may like rent a private jet every time I go somewhere, because airline travel is just obnoxious.
Oh yeah, okay.
I could see myself doing that for myself, but I wouldn't own a plane. I would just rent a private one forever.
Well, if you guys want to send us $1 million, we're not going to turn it down.
Yeah,
but
we're not trying to say don't send us money.
$1 million, but we're not. Yeah, we're not going to turn it down. Anyway, So yeah, great movie. Check that one out on Shudder. Look forward to our March Dismemberment in video form. It will still be on the regular audio feed, so don't worry if you don't want to watch it on YouTube. You don't have to. But if you want to see me and Brian's ugly mugs,
you want. Yeah, Tim has much better face for podcasting than I do. So
I have my beard face on now, so now you can see.
Oh, so do I. Oh, so we're matching. I was going to shave, but maybe we should. Maybe I'll keep it just so we can match beards.
Yeah, we got to do a beard matching. March.
March will be a beard March. Then I'll shave it right after.
And then we'll try to get some more YouTube content out there, even if it's just little 10-minute reviews or something. I think it'd be cool. So
yeah, I plan stuff like I want to I see other people they'll go to a cool horror themed thing and they'll do a 5 to 10 minute little thing on it. Like that's what we'll do. Yeah. We should really need to do that. I know we keep saying that, but we need to do it.
Yeah. I think that's
iPhones do a great job now. You don't even need a video camera.
Yeah.
So,
and I can do a video of Mia Moo. Y'all can see Mia.
Yeah,
and we can you can see Obi. You can see the puppies.
I know we should do. Yeah, should we do like a pet month one time? Yeah.
That'd be cool.
We'll get little pet things.
All right, guys. We'll see you back here next week.
See ya.